Why doing a fist weapon only run? Well, because our weapon choice is really limited. Our range will be abysmal, and most importantly, so I had an excuse to do these transitions. No class starts with a fist weapon, so I went for the Vagabond that has a good balance of strength, dexterity and vigor, and we could technically punch our way through the game 2 damage at a time, but finding a weapon is probably a better choice. After getting the horse, we can go behind the third Church of Marika, where a warp will bring us to the Dragon Barrow, because here we can reach a hill on a shack and buy the spiked Chestus, that not only are a decent fist weapon, not that we have much choice, but they also deal bleed damage, and with it we can punch the tail of the big dragon until it falls. With our newfound levels we can go against Margit the Fell, but that came back up later I guess and is going to fall again. Here we could for sure destroy him by walking around all the continent, upgrading the Chestus to plus 25 and do our best One Punch Man impression, but it's too much trouble for a boss we can still easily defeat. Jumping attacks work very well, because when they end we are almost crouched, and this means that his horizontal swings will fly above our head and miss us. If we try to equip the Chestus in both hands, we take out an additional Chestus, and that is very good with blood damage, because our attacks start to have multiple hits that will stack it faster. For once I can actually riposte enemies, and Margit the fell once again. In the castle we can meet Gostok, a sparring partner that willingly decides to sell us regular Chestus after we defeat him in a fair fight. We don't actually need them yet, but we can proceed in the castle to face the first remembrance bearer, Godric. And I know I said I didn't want to run around the continent to make the fight with Margit easier, but I went and bought some smithing stones along with taking some golden seeds and sacred tears, because making this harder for the sake of it doesn't really make sense. I mean, it's basically what my channel is about though, so ignore that last sentence. We face Godric, and here we start to have some problems due to our range. We can only hit as far as our arms go, and Godric has grafted all he could from his opponents. And I guess that includes weird hitboxes, because we can basically never hit him from the back, and more than a third of our attacks will miss him from the front. To deal with that, we can use more jumping attacks, because we can sort of go inside his body with them, and we hit him every time if we don't completely miss him due to the tilted arena. They also help with staggering him, and since in this run we can riposte, that's very good. We now just need to dodge some attacks, punch him a bit, and tell Godric to graft these ends. We are in Liurnia, but before entering Raya Lucaria we can go in all the tunnels we can find to gather upgrade materials, and by entering the plateau we can get more healing flasks and an emblem that improves our damage when we are at full HP, along with another one that improves the stamina regeneration back in Limgrave. After that I entered the academy, and while facing the Red Wolf I realized that I may have gone a bit overboard with getting stronger, but it is what it is. Also, sometimes the jump attack deals double damage. I think this happens because we attack with two different punches, and when they cross different hitboxes they trigger twice. Like, if at the beginning we hit the back of the wolf and then it moves the tail into the hitbox, we deal damage again. No idea if that's how it happens, but maybe Zali the Witch will see this video and investigate. A man can hope. Renala is next, and phase 1 is really easy. After hitting 3 scholars we could probably take her down in a single cycle, but I didn't get it this time. No worries, since the only things that can kill us are invisible hitboxes or chandeliers. In phase 2, after missing a couple of punches, I started spamming jump attacks, and her damage is really good even if she can be annoying with her spells, since most of the time we have to just dodge without being able to retaliate, like when she summons a giant dragon that tries to barbecue us. Come on Renala, just give up, we can't even see how many HP you have left. She falls and Radahn is next. We have to dodge his arrows by being as cocky as we can, just to flex on him. But when we reach his melee range, he won't use his bow anymore. Our range is still really poor and he keeps on moving, so we want to be on our feet for the whole duration of the fight. Because if we are behind his back, by the time we actually swing, he will be long gone and we are going to miss. He has a lot of HP and we don't deal that much damage. So if in the previous fights we wanted to use mostly jump attacks, here we can do regular attacks, because they are multiple swings and we build up bleed faster. Jump attacks are still good, because while doing them, the lower part of our body is immune to damage, and that allows us to dodge most of his gravity attacks, and if we think he's going to run away and we can only get one attack in, obviously we deal more damage by jumping. If we hit his horse we will still damage him, but for some reason it keeps on disappearing while he's drifting around. Maybe it's the will of the people. When phase 2 begins we get on the horse to avoid becoming a dinosaur, and the fight remains roughly the same if only a little harder. He's a bit more aggressive and has fancier moves, but we have to fight the same aggressive way as before, by staying near him. And if we get a little lucky, we will bleed him out just before or just after phase 2 begins, so we only need a few more punches to knock him out. After that we go down in Nokron, where we have the by far hardest fight in the game. Amazing build, perfect form, and look at that character design. They can throw rocks and we can't though, so equip the weapon as well. From there we can climb down to get the bleed whetstone and get the... I guess someone at From Software played too much Fallout 3. To get that item we are forced to go to the Caria Manor and fight Loretta, but we would have needed to get here either way, and since this fight lasted literally 35 seconds total, it's not that big of a deal. Behind her we can proceed with Ranius quest to get to another underworld area, then to the Lake of Rot that is absolutely not a poisonous swamp, and behind it we can fight Astel. Why did I decide to fight the Bloodborne Shrimp Planet thing now? Well, because it was on the way. There is really less planning to this that you may think. I basically strapped some leather with spikes on my hands and started punching my way through the game, as any good boxer should. Just join your local medium weight league and get on a ring, you'll figure it out on the way. Legally, I have to disclose that this was a joke and I won't be liable if you do it and get sent to 1994 with a punch. We want to only jump attack, because Astel floats around a bit and with normal attacks we can't quite connect all the hits, whereas jumping allows us to move towards it while attacking in the air. It has many annoying attacks with huge hitboxes and annoying patterns, but we can't do much about them since our positioning is always up close and personal, but we should have enough heals to power through the fight. It can actually bleed, not sure how that is supposed to work, and when we will knock it to the ground we want to use a charged attack first before the riposte since we can do it and it's free damage. Know that the fully charged attack deals a lot more damage than an almost charged one, because it throws 2 punches, with the second one being stronger. After that we can proceed towards the Volcano Manor, because there we can use a mechanic that we haven't explored yet but that is very useful: Ashes of War. If we join them and do a specific NPC invasion, don't worry, it's all doable offline, we can talk to Bernal and buy some of them. In this case I want to get the War Cry, that will give us a 10% damage boost for 20 seconds, and I don't like that, but we are making the mother of all omelets here, Jack, can't fret over every egg. In Stormveil Castle we can find a wet blade that allows us to give the kin property to our weapon with the Ash of War, giving it a better scaling in both dexterity and strength. For now it's barely better than the normal scaling, but it will improve with us leveling up, and doing this or swapping Ashes of War doesn't have a cost, so we can do it as often as we want. To enter the capital we have to defeat the Draconic Tree Sentinel, but we can deal a ton of free damage because it does a warming up animation as soon as we show up, and if we spam jump attacks we can stagger it as soon as the animation ends. Its attacks are slow but really dangerous, and we can manage to fit jump attacks in between dodges. We will get 1 bleed during the fight anyway, since I think the jump attack is considered 2 hits with us using 2 hands, and we don't get 1 shot killed if we get hit most of the time, so it isn't that bad, and the knight decides to let us in. Here I remembered that I didn't fight the radioactive moose yet, so I went back to give it its ration of pain. And I have a question for you, the spectator. If a moose would wear boxing shorts, would it wear them like this or like this? And what about the gloves? Can it actually use the horns in a sanctioned match? What is considered below the belt in this case? Choose your favorite moves and justify the answer with a minimum of 150 words. You have an hour to do it, and the paper must... Or you could subscribe and help out the channel. This fight can go on for a while, because it can heal itself for a disgusting amount twice, and then it will heal for much less, and hitting the head is the way we have to deal more damage, but because the fight can be long I think it's too risky, and often we don't even have enough friends to hit it, so I prefer staying under its body and using jump attacks on the legs and belly. They are bigger targets. If we do that, we have to dodge like 3 attacks total. We just have to wait for it to stop peeling and flying around, and it will eventually become a very well tenderized meal. In the capital we can fight the Phantom of Godfrey, but thankfully we can't even punch ghosts in this game, so it's not a problem. He is very aggressive, so I once again opted for jump attacks since they allow us to see an opening, get in for damage and roll out waiting for the next opening. But this way I found out that if we attack him with a jump attack on his right shoulder or or right leg, he will take damage from the attack twice. The same thing I was talking about with the wolf. I think it's because for some reason his leg has a different hitbox than his body, but I don't get why that should be the case and why we would be able to hit both of them. But I don't think it's a glitch, more like a weird interaction, so I won't worry about it and go on with my day, even though Godfrey here won't be able to go on with his. Morgoth is next in line and he can be really annoying if we don't know how to approach him, because his moveset is full of feints, huge hard to dodge attacks and small movement or jumps right after attacking to dodge us. If we stay very close to him though, he will jump away less, and if we use jump attacks we can dodge his sword either when we land and we are a bit crouched, or when we jump and our legs lose their hitbox, since his sword has mostly horizontal swings, and with the jump we can dodge his tail too. We will both bleed him and stagger him more than once during the fight, and I don't think that using riposte makes sense, since the Chestus' strength is that it attacks many times, and the riposte is a single attack that deals a bit more damage, so I always use strong attacks when the enemy is staggered. Here is where I discovered that the Art of War actually cancels any grease or buff you have on your weapon, because for some reason shouting is a weapon buff and not a body buff, so we'll have to change it eventually. There are for sure more things to say about this fight, but it lasted a total of 50 seconds, so I don't have time to say them. I got a win for technical KO in the first round, and I say technical because he's still alive for a couple of seconds after the fight ends. Next we can go in the snowy mountains, exploring castles, sightseeing and walking around with our buddy Torrent. All stuff that doesn't require punching someone in the face, and therefore that doesn't matter. Instead I went back underground, since we need to fight the gargoyles to proceed with Fia's quest, and this was downright horrible. Hitting them is hard, because their skeleton is all weird, and hits from the front only register on the knees, that they love to move around all of the time. We get tag teamed like this is WWE and not an honorable boxing match with them using an axe and me in full armor with spikes on my gloves. And they use a poison attack that deals a ton of damage and is hard to dodge since it's almost invisible. That said, if we manage to focus one, take it down, and then with the few years we have left clash up against the other one, we can make it work. Ah yes, the classic he won the match, but will he actually survive to see another day? That's why we need bookies. I'd like to thank the invincibility during animations for this. Behind the waterfall we can go and tackle another boss fight, but first I decided to use the Star Fist, that is basically a better version of the Spiked Chestus, in that it deals more damage, looks cooler, and is probably even more prohibited in boxing. They for sure have a rule on metal gloves after someone tried to get away with it in the 60s. It has a different charged attack, but that's not really relevant. The first two enemies are in 1v1, so it's not a problem, but in the 3v1 part of the fight we have to poke them a bit to win. We want to run away and wait for their spells to end, then go in, hit a couple of times and roll out. Still, our damage is great and now we can enter Fia's Dream to fight Fortisax. We could use the Dragon Wound Grease in this fight, that's a whopping 30% bonus damage to our weapon, but there is a limited amount of them and I don't want to gather materials to craft, and I believe this is the easiest of the two dragon fights we have to do, so we are going in raw. The developers really wanted us to punch this dragon square in the face until it dies. And maybe I'm just bad, but after trying and missing a couple of times I gave up and started breaking his ankles. If we go under its body we get a red lightning on us that explodes after a couple of seconds, and if we get the right timing we can dodge it. But at the end of the day, if we fight like this it's all about surviving and dishing out more damage than we take. So if avoiding the lightning means we don't hit, it's probably a bad idea. Thankfully, if we do a jump attack on his leg we can get our faithful double damage that we can do on many bosses, and that only happens if his body is low, so we can hit the leg first and the feet second, but it's the default situation, so it's not hard to do consistently. After that it's only a matter of avoiding the attacks that can kill us in one hit, and the dragon will eventually tap out. The fire giant is next, and phase 1 was quite easy to get through, but I kept dying in phase 2, because I couldn't hit his head as intended due to our short range, and some random explosion or fire attack took me out every time since I had to stand in front of him. So I needed something more to defeat him, but thankfully I have some tricks up my sleeve, and in this case it was bleed, so yeah, it was a soggy sleeve. Since our main assets are fast two-handed attacks and jump attacks, and while on a horse we can't do either of them, we want to be on feet for most of the fight. We jump on Torrent only when the giant runs away and we have to close some distance quickly, but we basically never attack from the horse. Our damage in phase 1 is great and his attacks are slow and easy to avoid. The only problem we have is that we can't see them properly, since targeting doesn't work very well here, but if we get a feel for it, we can dodge all of them and easily go into phase 2. Here he will take some damage by himself, and as soon as the phase change happens, if we go towards where he puts his head down and get a little lucky, since our range is really bad, we can get 2 jump attacks on him that will cause him to fall down, and we can riposte his chest high after that. If we miss them, no worries, and now we can take out our secret weapon. I brought with me blood-infused spiked Chestus, and our strategy now is avoiding any frontal confrontation and instead staying behind him as much as we can while hitting him. This means that our damage will be really low, since he has a lot of defense on anything that aren't his hands, eye or head. But the bleed build-up will still be very good, and we only need to bleed him twice from there to win the fight. It may sound strange, but he is much more mobile now that he is missing a leg, so we will use Torrent to chase him around the place. Also try to avoid the exploding rocks to have more chances of survival. I mean in everyday life too. Melina shows us who her favorite character from the Batman franchise is, and we end up in Farum Azula, where after running on some ruins we can get to the Godskin Dudes, and in case you didn't know, we can jump down from the Grace to reach another Grace that leads us straight to the fight. To defeat them we need another trick, and that is the soporific grease. There's a merchant that sells us the recipe to craft them that is here behind the warp to Raya Lucaria, meaning that basically everyone missed it in the first run, or like in the 20th. With the grease, we can jump the heavyweight apostle and put him to sleep. Be careful because we attack very fast, so if we hit him after he falls asleep, he will wake up on the spot. We can then focus the lightweight one, and now it's a 1 vs 1 fight. It's still annoying 1 vs 1 fight, but it's doable. Our highest damage move is still jump attacking. It allows us to chase them around when they jump, and it fits well with their moveset. We dodge a couple of hits and then jump, since we couldn't fit punches in between the dodges anyway. The other guy will wake up around the time we defeat the first one, and we need to be really aggressive because they can summon their partner at any time, and we will lose if we fight in a 2 vs 1. It didn't happen here, but if we stagger them during the summon animation, they won't try it again until they die. But we don't really have a way to decide when to stagger if not with plain luck. If you are aggressive, we will kill one when the other one shows up, and then we focus the new one, still super aggressively, because killing this guy won't be enough. Bleed damage doesn't really help us out here, because it's based on the single enemy HP and not on the total HP, but it's not like we have a better weapon. When the new guy shows up, we need to clutch, because we probably won't have any more heals, and we can finally hit him and put them both to sleep forever. Whew! Easy fight. With them defeated, we can buy materials to upgrade our weapons to plus 24, so we can go towards Castle Sol, since we need to defeat Commander Niall to proceed. He summons 2 lackeys when the fight begins, but now our damage is high enough that we can take down the first one in a matter of seconds, so that we can face the other one alone while the commander waits for us, and then he will begin phase 2 on the spot. His right leg is a prosthetic made of lightning, and every time he swings it, the attack will end with an explosion, but a direct hit will kill us every time. His moveset is mostly made by head level swings and frost or lightning explosions, meaning that if we spam jump attacks we will avoid the swings and deal a ton of damage. And yeah, all the AoE effects will connect, but he isn't very fast or very aggressive, so we can just roll away, heal and get back in, on repeat until he falls and gives us his right leg, that is actually quite gory and a fist weapon. After that we can go in the Helic Tree and face Loretta, a fight that is quite easy and will pay out with a lot of runes. She's almost the same as Phantom Loretta, only that her magic attacks have more projectiles, and she probably has more HP and damage, but you can't really tell since she's far later in the game. Punching a horse in the face is still effective, and also she can bleed now. We could face Malenia right after Loretta, but I'm not that insane, so she'll have to wait. Next in line is Maliketh, but since he will dash around a lot, we are going to need our boxing legs too, and to do that we can defeat this knight and get Bloodhound's Step, that is usable on all weapons and is basically stronger and longer quickstep, and stronger and longer is usually better. Even with our short range, phase 1 is doable by standing under his body, a thing that really didn't work in the shield only run. And now phase 2 begins, and with that, the actual fight. His skeleton is a bit weird, meaning that a lot of times we will miss him because with normal attacks we can't actually reach his legs, but jumping attacks should connect almost every time. He will jump, twist, roll, fly. In short, he will do everything he can to avoid being hit while attacking from the air. So our window to hit him is really short and is when he lands, but he will usually explode when he lands, so we need a way to get near him fast as soon as he's on the ground, and that's where we need Bloodhound's... Wait, is that already? I had this handy 27,000 word explanation on why we need the cool quickstep, but I guess I'll have to keep it for myself. I'm sure the viewers are in shambles. We have to recreate a classic high school moment now, where the buff bully beats up the nerd. Only that this time the nerd can cast spells and killed me like 20 times in a row. But after shoving Gideon in the locker, we can have the second actually honorable fight in the game, with a strong opponent that decides to fight properly, with only his fists in his hands. And there is only one way a fight like this can end: a draw. The game didn't actually consider this a win because I think his dying animation is too long, so we have to fight and, well, win. Phase 1 is similar to his Phantom fight, both in his moveset and in that we can do the double hit jump attack, even though I found it harder to pull off now. We can use greases to deal a bit more damage, and I basically never used them until now because we can't outright buy them in this game. We have to craft them by looking around for materials, so I have to be a tad more conservative with them, but now only a couple of bosses are left, so it makes sense to use them. All in all, not that much harder than the Phantom fight. In phase 2, the fight changes drastically. Now he has many exploding attacks that we can only avoid by dodging with invincibility frames at the right time, and he will keep on a constant aggression. That said, with a couple of well-timed jumping attacks we can both avoid his hits and deal a lot of damage, so it makes sense to do even if we just trade a hit. Healing in this fight is not easy, don't get me wrong, but we need so few hits to take him down that the additional risk makes sense. One last doubled armored spiky punch to the jaw and we get his champion crown. To go and face Rykard, we first need to beat up the Godskin Noble, but don't worry, probably deserved it. Now, to fight this angry serpent called Rykard, we are supposed to pick up and use a specific spear in this arena, and I managed to sneak some giant steel boxing gloves into the ring. But there is only one way I can think of to sneak a spear in, and I'm not sure I want to try it, so I guess I'll have to make it work with the fists. The best way we have to defeat him is with Bleed and Frost, because he has an insane amount of HP, and the aforementioned status is deal damage based on our opponent's max HP. So to do that, I took my Spiked Chestus and infused it with Frost, because since they are both fist weapons, we can use them at the same time with the left hand attack. Doing that we build up both Frost and Bleed with every attack, but since when Frost activates and actually deals damage it can't happen again for 30 seconds, we can swap to the Bleed weapons for optimal damage. In phase 2 he can decide to summon flaming skulls that follow us for a bit. When that happens we have to run until it's over, and here a Bloodhound step can be really useful to create some distance. Also, you may have noticed that for the whole duration of the fight we have to stand in a pool of lava, and the main problem here is not the damage, that is kind of irrelevant, but it's that we get staggered every couple of seconds. Luckily the stagger happens right after our fourth punch hits, and while we are staggered we regain stamina, so we can pretty much spam attacks with no consequences. We just have to run a bit when he jumps away, but it's not that big of a deal. Also the hitboxes suck, but we can make it work. I decided to rip the band-aid off and do the fight most of you are waiting for, Malenia. And by that I mean that I completely forgot about Placidusax and Mog, so I'll fight them later. This is by far the hardest fight in the game and maybe in the whole series, but there are some things we can do to make it, if not easy, at least doable. First of all, we want her to be the aggressor. If we go in running, throwing punches everywhere, she will dodge them and instantly retaliate and punish us. And since she will heal for a lot every time she connects a hit, we can't trade damage at all. But what we can do is go near her, dodge her attack sequences, learn her openings and punish her only when we can, so we have to play really tight. To deal damage I went with the jumping attacks, because she acts weirdly out of staggers, especially in phase 2, and I was afraid that simple punches would make her recover faster, where jump attacks are clean and circumvent our lack of range a bit. They are not that easy to land at the beginning, but with some practice we can make it work. Her openings are the jumping thrust attack and the grab, where we need to be close to her because she recovers almost instantly. The overhead sword swing where we just have to dodge and punish her, and every time she dashes away from us, where we need to be quick and chase her as soon as she moves backwards, or else it becomes dangerous and she could dodge the attack. Overall, our damage is pretty good in all these situations, and we even have the occasional bleed. That isn't super reliable since we can't decide how often we hit her, but it's still there. The real problem here, though, is her waterfowl dance, an attack where she floats in the air for a second and then dashes at us with 3 waves of attacks. If this attack connects fully with only even one of the waves, we are dead, and to dodge it we have to get away from her fast as soon as she goes in the air. But oftentimes we will be recovering from a jump attack and running won't be enough. And this is where Bloodhound Step comes into the equation, because it's so good that we can comfortably use it backwards and get away from the first wave in maybe half a second. And after that we can roll through the second one towards her and through the third one away from her, since they are shorter. We could just spam the Ash of War, easily avoiding the damage altogether, but that means bringing with us a Cerulean Flask or hoping that she won't spam the dance, or we would die as soon as we run out of focus. And obviously it can still happen, but it's much more reliable if we just use 2 dashes per dance attack. When phase 2 begins, we can just run under her and then to the right to avoid the attack. She starts wounded and has slightly less HP, but we still need something more to put us into the comfort zone. And no, it's not performance enhancing medicine. Not necessarily. We have with us Frost Grease, because since our weapon isn't infused with blood or other elements, we can use it. And thanks to our double swings and their weakness to it, it's really easy to apply. When she freezes, she not only gets staggered and takes a good amount of damage, but she will also take additional damage from all other sources for the following 30 seconds, so it's really good. Here you can see me throwing additional punches here and there when I can, and honestly also when I shouldn't, because this fight remains a race. If we aren't aggressive enough and we end up without focus, we die, plain and simple. There are more strong attacks that we have to dodge now, and remember that the step is always useful, and if we find ourselves in a pickle and we feel like we did good damage up until that point, we can spam it a bit to avoid dying, because it's very good in all situations. Her openings are almost all the same, but now at the end of each one of them, she can decide to jump up in the air and do another attack that will blow up the ground where her sword lands after a bit. We can still hit her after that attack, but this means that we have to wait a split second before jumping to see if she jumps or stays on the ground. And that's how we teach Malenia to never bring a sword to a fist fight. Now we can clean house, and I went to fight Dragon Lord Placidusax first. Apparently, Dragon Lord only means that they are the Lord of the Dragons, not that they are an actual dragon, because I saved all the Dragon Wound Greases I could find up until now, only to discover that they don't actually work here. To fight them, I decided to bring the all-reliable Frost Spiked Chestus, but this time we will not use them at the same time, and instead we can switch from one to the other. If we stand close to the center of their body and jump attack, we can hit both heads or a head and a severed neck for the double damage, but it's not super reliable and it's definitely risky. So focusing their tail is probably the best choice, since our damage is still good and they don't have a real way to hit us here. They can even be staggered, and everything else is covered by the step. And I hope they are covered by a good life insurance policy, but I'm not sure how that would work in a world where people can't actually die. Well, our main objective in this game is restoring the Rune of Death so that people can die again. So either the insurance companies are our biggest enemy, or people are collecting the money in person every time they die and we are sent by them. Mog is next, and by next I mean I forgot to fight him up until I started editing the video, but in a dictatorial moment I decided to show Mog before the final boss fight, just to give a bit more sense to this video. I mean, not that it changes much. My man Mog is getting beat up here. I almost feel bad for the guy. He heals himself just to be punched harder. Also, the Lord of Blood can bleed apparently. It's time for the final boss, and there isn't much to say here. Radagon takes a lot of damage. Our jumping attacks work well with his moveset in phase 1, and if we stay at melee range all the time, the only annoying move he has are delayed explosions. And it may look like he's fast, but he actually takes a long time to recover from attacks, and if we dodge behind him, we will avoid most of his explosions. In the fishing minigame, we just have to run up to the beast and spam jump attacks. If we stand to its sides, most attacks will miss us, or we can dodge them easily since they are really slow, and even if they hit us, we don't take that much damage. It's even repostable, just don't do the same mistake as me and show up with the Frost Chestus. And with that, I'll say that you can beat Elden Ring with only fist weapons. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like or even subscribe. I'll see you next time. Well, you'll see me. See the video at least. Why do we always mess up the outro? Wait, what did they want to do with the regular Chestus? Did they kill Gostok for nothing?